Welcome, everyone. This is our Android Week with Alan Furstenberg in New York, Bruce Turner in Lynchburg, Virginia, Duke Carrico in Kingsport, Tennessee, Thaddeus Kalut in Newport Beach, California, and in Menifee, California, Pam Adger. This is our Android Week. Good to have you with us. I'm Dan McDermott, the host of our program. Pam can't make it tonight. Thaddeus is working on a top secret project. That's all he would say. I think it involves 3 girls. But anyway, enough about Thaddeus. Welcome to the program, Mr. Alan Furstenberg. Good to have you with us as always, sir.
Hey, Dan.
All right, so we got some good topics today. It's probably going to be a short show since there's just 2 of us. Not too much we can argue about. But we'll find a way. Nature finds a way. Okay, so first up, Vertu has released a mid-tier Android phone with a 4.7-inch sapphire screen, 2 cameras, including a Hasselblad certified camera, and it starts, the mid-tier price is $7,000. I'm not sure if that's with or without a 2-year deal, Alan, so maybe it's a bargain. Is this have we finally found the phone that will make Craig Shipp finally come to Android? And is this the bargain that it appears to be?
No, because he'll criticize the fact that it's a Hasselblad. And Hasselblad has been making some lousy cameras recently.
It seems like a nice phone. I mean, for $7,000. It should perform
For $7,000, it better be a nice phone.
It should perform an unnatural act on you. So what do you think? Are you going to rush out and buy one of these for testing?
Well, I don't know. It depends if they give it to us at I/O next year or not.
That'd be a nice gesture on Google's part. We'll have to drop a hint to Qi. What's special? Have you looked at this in any depth? What the hell could possibly? Is it jewelry or? I mean, is it?
I don't know. I couldn't find anything about it that was special, but maybe I missed something.
The
Hasselblad camera is probably the biggest part of it that's in any way anything. And even that isn't much of anything.
That'll be interesting to see what kind of photos it takes. I guess it's a 13 and a something slightly higher for the back, they're both 13 to 20 or whatever megapixels. But yeah, Hasselblad, of course, for folks who don't know, that they're the traditional, those rectangular cameras that the viewfinder was above, and you'd look down into it, and it's called a medium format camera, and if you're shooting a billboard or a Vogue cover of Beyonce or something, then you would have traditionally used a Hasselblad for that. They were the high-end, like wedding photographers you'd see with them in the 70s and 80s.
And they still are high-end. They still make high-end cameras, but the quality of their cameras has gone downhill somewhat over the years.
At least they've gone digital. So other companies, Kodak comes to mind, were late into that game. At least their photo thing. Their chemical division's fine, but they spun that off. So, okay. So there you go. If you're looking for a very expensive, if Jay-Z, if you're watching, you're looking to get an Android phone, we recommend the Vertu Aster be looked at. Okay, so next up is, please comment, folks. Please comment. We're looking at them, and we'll read them as we go. And on the air, especially if you troll Craig Shipp, we will read your comment and bold it. Google has updated its Android app. Google Plus has updated its Android app to incorporate elements of material design and to simplify photos.
This hasn't shown up on mine yet, but the last release we saw the first elements of material design showing up. Material design is the Android L styling that was announced at I/O, and we're seeing all of their apps slowly, all of Google's apps, bit by bit, getting more of these elements added on as they become more familiar with it. So it's no big surprise. This is just the next step. I'm kind of curious to see exactly what it looks like and exactly how it behaves, because the last one had some really stupid behaviors.
Can you define material design for those of us who may have forgotten?
The broad concept behind material design is that the things that we have on our display have some texture to them, have some depth. It's like we're layering things on top of a piece of paper, literally. So buttons appear to have, they're not just circles that are there. There's actually a little bit of 3D to them, but just a little. Um, there are actions that make it clear when you're doing something and what you've done. So it's obvious when you push a button or when you touch somewhere on a screen or in a text field. This gets away from the very, very flat design that that companies like Apple and Microsoft had been pushing over the past few years. Google has adopted some of that, but has kind of emphasized the fact that this is more to it. It's actually part of the goal is to help you see where the components are and make it easier to work with them.
You find it are you preferable, or you find it preferable?
I think some of the elements that they are pushing with material design are very good. Others, I think, still need some work.
Okay.
But
All
overall, I like the direction that it's going.
All right, and we'll obviously be able to talk more when we have it than we can now, because I don't have it either, I don't think. So there's that. Okay, next up is a fake smartphone app is being spread through spam messages on WhatsApp. Claims to be from the group organizing protests in Hong Kong. But that group, which is called Code4HK, at least that's the Twitter hashtag, CODE4HK, they deny any involvement. The app gathers information from a phone, including calls and messages. It affects Android phones and iPhones that have been jailbroken. If you have a non-jailbroken iPhone, it won't work. The Chinese government has used similar tactics in the past and is suspected to be behind the current app. This is, I guess it would be surprising if they weren't trying something like this. You think?
It's an interesting approach. I think the most interesting thing about it is that, unlike the suggestions that we can give, always use stuff from a certified store, from the Play Store. The reason why it only affects iPhone is because it's jailbroken iPhones is because it requires sideloading. Most Android phones in China go with sideloading over Google Play Store or goes with some other app store. So those phones are probably somewhat more susceptible to it than what we would see.
What's the reason for that? Is that because some stuff might be blocked, but then your friend will say, "Here's an app to bypass censors," so they're just used to doing that a lot?
Well, I think it's also because the phones that they were using were not Google, didn't have Google Play Store or Google Marketplace back when it was called Google Marketplace. So they have been relying on third-party stores, and those third-party stores rely it to be open.
Okay. All right, cool. By the way, the stores we're discussing, if you're watching on YouTube, they are listed below the video player, and the links to the articles we're discussing are there. So yeah, I think this is, if I mean, our NSA is snooping on us and China's snooping on them, and so goes the internet. Okay, so next up is TiVo. They're bringing the ability to watch live and recorded television programs to their Android app. This has been a feature for iOS users, but unlike that app, Android users will be able to stream over Wi-Fi and mobile networks. With the iOS app, it only works over Wi-Fi. Not all cable customers are supported. I think Time Warner and some others, I didn't see Comcast listed. I don't know that they're not, but I imagine it would have been listed if they were. But Comcast has its own thing that works fairly well. But I hate that they each have their own thing. I wish you could just use whatever your preferred one was.
Everybody's got their own thing. There are lots of third parties that are doing similar things with, slinging content around. Good to hear that TiVo is back in the game with this.
And HBO will not work. Stars will not work. But they have, I've heard the HBO Go app is excellent. I don't have it because I don't have HBO. Netflix and Amazon Prime are my main thing, and the stuff I get, on the internet. Like, I can't watch CNN because they took it away, and literally I'd have to pay $80 additional just to get CNN. That's the lowest tier to get the news channels. But they put all their good stuff on their blogs anyway. And if there's some big thing happening, somebody's always streaming it, like a State of the Union address. So what do you think, Alan? This are we going to come to a point? I mean, this isn't unlike TiVo. I'm sorry, this isn't unlike
This is
Aereo.
TiVo.
This isn't unlike Aereo. If Aereo had done something where you leased a square foot instead of an antenna, you leased a dedicated cable connection or antenna.
No, the difference here, Dan, is that this is from the box in your house. So you have a right, very, very clear right, as the Supreme Court has already ruled, to record this and to use that recording for time shifting and location shifting purposes.
I think
Supreme
it was
Court
the
has
Sling
already
box,
established
wasn't it?
that that's a closed case.
Because there are three things. You have the right to view over-the-air broadcasts. You have the right to record them. I think that's a VHS case.
Yes, that's the VHS case.
And you have a right to watch them remotely, which I think is the Slingbox case, if I'm not mistaken.
That's also the VHS case.
Okay. Okay. All right, so that happened. Adobe has released just because I'm excited that this is not really related, but it's sort of related to real. Well, the sentence here is Adobe's released a fairly stable public preview of its Creative Cloud app for Android. It allows you to view and manage your cloud files like Photoshop documents, Illustrator documents. And this goes to, I've always said that phones and tablets and Chromebooks were always a compromise. You couldn't run the real version of the program, but it allows you to do amazing things compared to a feature phone. And so we're now seeing that the big companies are finding ways to give you the full functionality or a lot more functionality to these devices, which are less expensive and or more mobile than a desktop computer. And so I'm excited about that. And this goes to a thing we talked about on Friday on our Google Plus Week show, every Friday at 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific, where Chromebooks were getting, starting with Photoshop and only for students initially, but the Creative Cloud is coming to Chromebooks. So this goes to combat Microsoft's argument that Chromebooks aren't real laptops because they don't run real software like Microsoft software. So what do you think? That's why I put this in here. It's not a huge story. It's just, they've updated their app.
Well,
Any thoughts?
I think the other thing this points out is that Adobe is finally, well, they've always acknowledged the fact that their software needs to be able to run multiple places. You need to be able to move those files around. You need to be able to use it on whatever platform is best. Now they're saying, hey, sometimes that's going to be a smartphone. And that might be because you're using the tablet to display something to a client. It might be because you're just doing some basic manipulations. Whatever, they're going to give you the right tool for the right job. And I think increasingly people are understanding that it's all about the right tool for the right job and using the cloud to synchronize that.
And it's about, I think, acknowledging that just like a lot of folks don't have a landline anymore, they're just using their cell phone. For a lot of young people, millennials and younger, this is the computer in the household.
Well, but remember, in this case, it's not that you're going to have the full suite of tools on your mobile. This is still just a part of it. But it's acknowledging that you're going to have this tool. And there's no point in not using a tool if it's not available to you. Whatever.
As phablets become more the rage, and even iOS is going in that direction, and these phones are getting extremely powerful. I imagine the processor in this is, I don't know what this would compare to in terms of speed, compared to like my old 286 or 386. I have no idea. But the storage is more. My first computer was a 286, had 40 megabytes of internal storage. This one has, a lot more than that, gigabytes.
Well, let's put it this way. People have gotten Windows 95 to run on an Android Wear watch.
Wow.
I think that says it all.
I didn't know that. Um, that's
Yeah, that one was making the rounds today.
that's awesome. That's like a geek orgasm tidbit news.
No,
Okay,
it's not geek orgasm. It's just, creative foolishness. But it's still
impressive
fun.
though. And as Craig would say, some people have way too much free time. um, okay, so next up, some U.S. law enforcement agencies are considering asking for Congress to force Google and Apple to reverse encryption. The two companies have announced that would make it impossible for the tech giants to break into locked iPhones or Android phones. The move toward encryption is likely a result of public outrage over NSA spying on Americans, really leaked by Edward Snowden to WikiLeaks. And but is it a step too far? Will smartphones, as the chief of the D.C. Police Department put it, become the tool of choice for pedophiles and other criminals to evade the law?
No. Next question.
Um, I was trying to think of precedent. The closest thing I could come to was the Digital Millennium Copyright Act says it's illegal for you to create a device that would, for example, be able to rip CDs or DVDs that contain copyright material. It's illegal to sell that device. So could they force the companies to put a backdoor? Because BlackBerry, if you have a BlackBerry server at your company and you run it yourself, you're not just going through Sprint or AT&T or Verizon. That is impenetrable by authorities. And that was a big dispute that they had, or at least it was. I don't know what the latest is, but could the
Dan, here's the thing. We fought this war already. We fought it back in the 90s. The crypto wars were fought, and cryptography won.
so is it a free speech argument, or what's the argument that the government doesn't have the right to force you to force the companies to install a backdoor if
Well, the U.S.
a quote unquote
Constitution.
legitimate?
Perhaps you've heard of it.
Well, but what chapter, what verse, Jed?
Um, it's two things. One is free speech. The other is unreasonable searches and seizures.
But a warrant isn't an unreasonable search and seizure. And I apologize, my mouse button was over Alan, and I know that drives Gerwin and others crazy because you keep trying to move the mouse off of his face and it doesn't work. Um, so
Here's the thing, though, Dan.
I agree, but do you
But-
agree
but
that?
Dan,
Go ahead.
Dan, that might be a reasonable argument if at any point in the past we have seen any even significant number of search warrants being executed against cell phones for pornography or other legal issues. And the fact
Yeah.
is we haven't.
I have mixed emotions on this. On the one hand, I see what appears to be an overreach by the NSA, revealed by Edward Snowden, none of which has been disputed by the NSA. And if there were any factual errors or lies in there, then they would have come out and said this is BS. They haven't done that.
Here's a good one for you, Dan, on that front.
Mhm.
I was actually talking to a BlackBerry salesman this weekend. He commented that their sales are going up. The NSA might have been the greatest thing for BlackBerry because now every single government in the EU is buying a BlackBerry.
Well, I mean, I thought it was an incredible advertisement for them in '08 when they announced when the Obama administration announced.
But here's the thing, because of the NSA, foreign governments are buying Blackberries now because they know they're secure. That might be the only thing that saves BlackBerry as a company.
Not their Square phone, the new giant monstrosity.
Apparently, that's selling fairly well.
They ran out. They run out. What's it called? The playbook? What's it called?
I have no idea.
I don't
care.
And it's a boon for the Crackberry website, I'm sure, which is no longer irrelevant. But yeah. So, but I see. I mean, I see both sides. I see WTF? Oh my God, they're spying on everybody. And the other side of the coin is when they captured the Boston Marathon guy, there was a vested interest in the security because we didn't know how many people were involved other than them at the time, or if they captured a 9/11 guy. they didn't know. Presumably, they were able to get into his phone and find out who his friends were, and that may have led to one of his friends being charged. So I see both sides of this because at the time you're freaked out. Like, are there other bombs that are about to go off in the interest of public safety? So I do see there. I think there are two legitimate sides to this. This is not an ogre versus an innocent child here. This is, I see both sides. Where do you lie? Do you think you favor just straight up encrypted? Damn the police.
Here's how Dan, let's use your hypothetical, and it's totally a hypothetical, that if some bomber was walking around with the little black book containing names and phone numbers, except all the names and phone numbers were enciphered in some way.
Okay.
How does that differ from what you have with your phone? Can you be forced to give it over? Sure. Can you be forced to reveal what it says?
True. That's a valid point.
That's all that an encrypted phone is.
So they'll have to get to more police work.
And here's the thing. Every backdoor that has ever been put in for law enforcement purposes has been exploited for more nefarious purposes, either by other governments or by private agencies. And the damage that those have caused, from everything I've seen, has been far worse than by denying access to law enforcement officials. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. I don't buy law enforcement's arguments.
I would. I think that's an excellent example you make. A physical, an old school, written in code black book. That's a great argument. I do see both sides to this, and I like you. I would say I think this is going to happen anyway. And if I were in law enforcement, it would suck. But this is every action gets a reaction. I think that's the first law of physics. And when the NSA does stuff like this, it gets exposed. Then the public becomes upset, and the companies are gonna react, and the companies in the end want to give the public products that they want to buy. And so if Apple does it, Google's got to do it, BlackBerry's got to do it. So next up is documents in a lawsuit show. I'm
before
sorry.
we
Go
move
ahead.
on, I'm actually surprised. I haven't seen any of our viewers commenting on this one yet. Have you?
I have not. Brad
Okay,
says.
let's move on then.
Brad Chasenor from who's I guess getting ready to do his show Tech Webcast, which you can find at techwebcast.info. And he says, loving the show. We appreciate that. We love your show as well. I think both of us have been on it. And we only go on because we get like $1,000 when we go on. So we appreciate that as well. But it's Australian dollars, but still. Okay, next up is documents in a lawsuit show that Samsung and Microsoft agreed to a 7-year cross-licensing business, two agreements for 7 years. One was a patent cross-licensing agreement, and one was a business collaboration agreement. This was in 2011. Samsung has paid Microsoft $1 billion per year for the use of Android patents. Now, Samsung has stopped paying money because Microsoft purchased Nokia, and Samsung claims in court filings that the Nokia purchase violated both agreements. Microsoft responded to this article saying that the Samsung's objection was not to the business collaboration agreement, or I forget one of them, but not both. But that's the trivial matter. Is this surprising at all? I mean, this is just sort of news, so I thought I'd bring it up. I don't know if there's much to debate here. What do you think?
It's been known for a while that Microsoft was extorting companies for patents.
Not a subjective word at all there, pejorative.
No, not at all.
Are they their patents or patents they bought, or I mean, were they patent troll patents that they bought, or they actually
Is there a
developed
difference?
stuff? I think if you invent the polio drug, or if you invent the next Ebola drug, and a company wants to sell it, that you should get a royalty from it for the $1 billion you spent developing it. To use a
So
wild
you're asking
example.
if it's a legitimate patent or not a legitimate patent?
Is it a legitimate patent?
Not is it a patent troll patent?
A patent troll is someone who doesn't actually make anything. They just buy patents to extort stuff from companies, often selling out of court for some
Well, Dan,
minute
Dan,
sum that is
I don't wanna
more
get
than
into this right
it's worth filing lawsuit, but it's not worth defending. So they end up getting money, even though it's bullshit. That's a patent troll, in my opinion.
now. You really want to get into this right now? Because I don't.
Okay. All right. We both hate Microsoft. I don't know why we're arguing at all
I
about
don't
this.
hate Microsoft. I've gotten past the days when I called Bill Gates' fortune blood money. I've gotten past that.
I have a problem with their Scroogle campaign.
Oh, I've got a problem with that. I've got a problem with their technology, but I don't have a problem with the company.
Okay. We love Microsoft. Love is too strong. Okay, so John Donovan is the Chief Technology Officer of the Financial Times. That's the yellow newspaper that writes excellent business stuff and has probably the best paywall out there. It's hard to get past. I can get past all of them much easier than that one, but I can get past them all. In an interview with a website called The Drum, he discussed the wearable component of their app and said that publishers would be fools to disregard wearables. Appears that they have a nice, simple Android Wear app. He also discussed the pitfalls of responsive design. Uniquely qualified to speak on this is Alan, who writes about responsive design in his O'Reilly Media book, Designing and Developing for Google Glass, which is co-authored by our friend Jason Salas. And if you're interested in the book, check it out at shop.o'reilly.com. And again, it's Designing and Developing for Google Glass by Jason Salas and Alan Furstenberg. And check it out. I bought it, and so I could help edit it, and also just to support my friend. And so tell me, Alan, I agree with him, obviously. I'm sure you would. Tell me about the pitfalls of responsive design, what he's referring to, or what you might think those would be. And do you agree that it's crucial that these folks jump on the wearable bandwagon?
Here's the problem that I have with what he said and with this story. First of all, let's understand what responsive design is. It's, broadly speaking, an attitude saying, look, you're designing for multiple screen sizes. So you need to make sure that people who are using, small phones all the way up to huge desktop screens, to wall-mounted TVs, to whatever, all have a good experience when looking at your website traditionally, but when reading your content. And Kadeusz Kalut is now joining us for what's about to be a great rant, I hope. That part is great, and Kadeusz Kalut's chair is joining us. That part is great, and I think he's right on the money. Where he goes off the rails, though, is he kind of goes into it with the assumption of, oh, hey, you're going to be reading content on your desktop, you're going to be reading content on your tablet, you're going to be reading content on your phone, so of course you're going to be reading content on your watch, right? And I think he's wrong there. I think it's a total misunderstanding of the underlying concepts behind real scalable design.
So you absolutely don't view the watch as a content consumption device?
I do consider it a content consumption device, but not in the same way that your mobile phone is.
When I say content consumption, I mean sitting there reading several Washington Post articles. You don't think it's practical for that?
No, I think it's possible. I think it's uncomfortable and annoying.
Because the only way the thing would work is if it's Bluetooth to a phone, and the phone would obviously have a larger screen. I guess it's perfect if you have a cracked screen phone that still functions. Then you could.
I think it's great if you want to. Here's the thing. I think it's great if you want to read 10 words at a time. We can't hear you, Kadeusz, but you're also muted here.
He's doing the Mambo number 5 on his microphone there.
But here's what it is. The phone is better for some things than the watch is. And trying to use your wrist-mounted device the same way that you, or your head-mounted device for that matter, the same way that you use your slab of glass, is not taking advantage of either the slab of glass or the thing that'll be on your wrist.
Okay. By the way,
And-
it's actually you're muted, Cadeas. I see the thing,
Yes,
so I think
we
your
said-
mic's working.
Dan, we know
Okay.
that. We're going on.
Maybe he's just
I-
hanging out, literally hanging out.
You
Okay.
know, so I think the article is good in that it says, look, you need to make sure that you adapt your application for different platforms of different sizes. But I think what he then fails to take into account is how people will use those different sizes in different ways. So glass and a watch may be good, glass may be good for streaming audio, while a watch may be good for headlines, and your phone may be good for more in-depth articles.
Okay.
I see Cadeas nodding. Thoughts on that one, Cadeas? Oh, sorry. I also see Cadeas chewing.
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. I see a lot of things that come out. Like, for example, I saw something, I can't remember what it was, but it was for the watch. And it was just way too much information on the screen to me, to the point where you're just, you would be walking like this most of the time, and you got to scroll and all that. And, I mean, there are even some Hangout messages that I will start reading on the watch and then go, wow, this is too much. And I'll rather move to some other device than to do it from the watch, whether it's glass or whether it's a tablet or a phone. Like, you shouldn't have to consume so much. There shouldn't be so much thrown at you on a watch, on that little bitty screen. There's no purpose in that.
And it's I'm sorry. It's uncomfortable to sit there like this, scrolling and reading. It's uncomfortable. It is much easier to go like this and scroll and read.
Do we know that? Okay, in the screen capture in that article, they showed on a Wear device, they showed, I think it was like 3 headlines. Do we know that if you click the headline, it actually displays the text on the Wear device, or is it sending it to your phone?
I
That could
haven't
be
seen
useful.
the app yet, but the way I read the article, he made it sound like he was talking about showing the article on the watch.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that if they find through their metrics that people actually, there are some people using it, and if they just develop a thing and it's using their existing articles, so it's not like they're spending a lot of money and effort, labor pushing them out to those things. And maybe there are people, maybe we're
Well,
wrong,
I
and
think
people will want to read stuff on their watch.
So like today, for example, I got since Circa's been updated to support Wear, I got my first Circa out and let you know some groundbreaking news that's changing in the world, and it was announcing that I guess China is going to do some form of negotiations with Hong Kong. I was trying to find it on the Wear so I can show you. When you first look at it, initially it's a small post, and then when you actually read it, you go, okay, there's a few more lines, and you go to touch it, and then it opens up this big old huge long thing, and it's just like, okay, never mind, open on phone at this point, because it's too much. You're scrolling, and now you've been like this for too long, and then it's not worth it in that scenario. That's one of those scenarios where it just needs to be a blast, and then if you're interested, go ahead and open the article on the phone. So that's a perfect example of the Circa app where they're just shooting too much information at you on the Wear watch. You know, I mean, maybe if the article was 1 to 2 sentences, like usually the Circa is, that's a good thing. But like that was a really long post that shouldn't have blasted out that way. And that's probably their first real thing that they needed to blast out. So
I got a question for both you guys. Is there a screen resolution limit on Android Wear? I mean, could I make it if I were making a device, could I make it any size I wanted?
Currently, Android Wear defines 2 screen resolutions, 240 by 240 and 320 by 320.
Question: this may be crazy, I'm not sure, but if a car company wanted to use the Android Wear platform
No.
and put this on my dashboard,
A car company would not use the Android Wear platform, they would use the Android Auto platform.
okay.
And this is the problem that we have right now is that everyone keeps thinking in very, very narrow terms of everything needs to behave exactly the same way. And we've got to get out of that attitude. Android for tablets, and this is really what this is just a tablet. Android for tablets needs to work and behave differently than Android for wearables, needs to work and behave differently than Android for TVs, needs to work and behave differently than Android for cars.
You left out
And
glass.
I don't have a car that I can show up to the screen for that one.
But aren't there things that Wear does that Android for cars doesn't do?
And probably shouldn't do. And that's the important part, is you want each of these devices to be very tuned for what they do really well. And stop trying to make the all-in-one device that does everything really crappily.
Go away. One size fit all does not work anymore.
Android for bicycles. You heard it here first. Okay.
Dan, we have that already. It's called Google Glass.
And I know both of you enjoy yours. Okay, so next up, I saw an article suggesting that Android, and I'm disappointed that both of you ignored my post on this, my question for you. I saw an article suggesting that Android has what a Forbes writer calls a bit rot problem. Devices get unstable and laggy over time. Two words I would certainly not use to describe my original Nexus 7 are robust or snappy. The article suggests that the best solution is to occasionally perform a factory reset on your device, and if you have an SD card, he suggests you should even reformat that. The writer likens it to reinstalling Windows on an old PC, which can often rejuvenate it like a new computer. Do you guys agree with this? Like my original Nexus 7, I've tried the caching thing, I've tried every possible thing. I haven't yet done a factory refresh, but I will, and I'll do some. I'll do like a little video showing the before and after. But it's become almost unusable, especially if I've recently rebooted it. It's like half an hour before it's fully functional, and even then, it's ridiculously laggy and slow, and I get, Google is
Maybe
not
because
responding, way to report, close it.
Maybe because I come from the PC world for a while, so I personally don't have a problem with totally erasing and rebooting my whole entire software. You generally have to on many devices, even the iPhone, you have to do that at times. But my only request is at least give us a easy backup solution and not the more complex one that we have right now, where we got to go through and grab everything that's not going to back up and get it all sorted out and get it ready. If I didn't have to do all that and I can just do like you do on iOS, where you just back it all up and then wipe it and then put it all back on.
Yes, that's part of the problem. Is that you accumulate all this junk, so your backup accumulates all this junk, so you get to restore all this junk.
So, in iOS's defense, 90% of the time you don't have to worry about that. So,
well, unless of course you've got an older device, in which case the moment you upgrade to the new version of iOS, you're screwed.
right,
They've got different problems.
right, they have a whole new world of problems. So, but
No, Android doesn't.
I just wish there was. Oh, go ahead.
There's an issue on Android, and I think it's pretty disgusting and despicable. And the reason why I didn't answer you, Dan, is because I didn't have any solutions for you, besides throwing your device out the window or getting a new one.
And that would have been my solution. I've told you that a million times, so I just decided not to go there because you already knew what I was going to say. You're outdated. It's time to buy a new device.
But here's the thing. I think that's a lame argument, though.
Why do you say that's a lame argument? I mean, everything changes so quickly.
I
Come
don't
on.
think that's ridiculous.
The Nexus 7 2012 is not a radically outdated device.
That would be the iPhone 6 at this point. So it's radically outdated.
The iPhone 6 just was released.
Yeah, it's 2 years old. It's behind everything else. So literally, it's behind. His device.
But 2 years old. Cadeas, the technology you're wearing on your head right now is about 4 years old.
That's valid. That's a valid statement.
Look, to put it in perspective, I got my small teleprompter, right, which I use with my NEX 7, and also I can put my Logitech 920 or whatever, and it fits in the behind them. It's got a cracked glass, but it still works. But my Note 2 is too big to fit. It's too wide or too tall, right? So I use my old Motorola Photon which runs Gingerbread. It's not activated, but it works fine as a Wi-Fi Android device, and it's slow as molasses. So I boot it up like half an hour before, and then I I go to Drive, I go to the document, then I try or whatever. I put the document in there, and I wait 10 minutes for it to update Drive and do all the other crap it does, but it works fine. So there's a place for old stuff, and my Nexus 7 works great for.
But it obviously doesn't work great, Dan.
It's I mean the as far as the speed and everything.
This is a fundamental design problem with Android, that it accumulates this crap, and it doesn't clean it up correctly. And hopefully, at the release after Android L, someone will get around to actually looking into why and fixing the damn problem.
I can tell you that I recently, as you know, about a year ago, I cracked the screen on my Note 2, and Sprint sent me, without me requesting it, and not really, I'm sure why, they sent me a new one, or a refurb, and so it is dramatically faster. It's just as old as the original one, but it's factory reset. The battery lasts like it was new. Well, it's a new battery. It's dramatically improved.
Here's the thing. You do have a new battery in that one because it's a refurb. You probably have new memory in it too, because that's a refurb as well. Both of those are things that have, that as they get used, have memory effects. And both of those can slow it down. But there's more to it. There's more to Android's problems than those.
But the memory, I get you on the battery, but the memory would, even after reset, old memory would perform differently than new memory?
They have a memory effect, yes.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I thought RAM lasted.
It's the same issues that you see. Well, it's how the stuff is stored on the and it's not the
memory as
a
memory.
long-term non-volatile memory that we're talking about here.
Okay, for the on storage memory, the
it's
flash,
the equivalent to the hard drive.
the flash RAM,
Yeah.
as opposed to the ROM. The flash RAM if I had a brand new Note 2 that had never been used, never been powered up from whenever they released it 2.5 years ago, and then I had one that had been used regularly. If I did a factory reset on both devices, you're saying that the one that had never been used would perform better than the one that had been used for 2 years, even after a factory reset? I find that
Depends on how the factory reset was done, because part of what you end up doing with the flash RAM is essentially clearing out the bad spots on it as well. Same as clearing out a hard disk.
now he says you should.
Format a hard disk, you map away bad sectors in it.
Would a factory reset in effect reformat the internal memory? There's two
Yes.
memories on here, right? There's three. Like
Kadeus, tell me if I'm lying, please, because I don't want to be giving out bad information.
No. He's right. The only without making it complex, you're right.
So there's three kinds of memory in this device. There's the SD card, there's the ROM, which would hold the factory reset stuff, and there is and whatever version of Android came with the device as part of the factory reset stuff. And then there's the RAM, the random access memory, which is writable.
Oh, there's 4 kinds of memory.
Yeah.
You have RAM and you've got the flash RAM. The RAM is essentially what's in memory at the time. The flash RAM is essentially what's on the hard drive.
Okay, so there's 4 kinds. So what does the guy suggested, probably a good idea, he said go ahead and reformat your SD card at the same time. If you have like my Nexus 7, of course, doesn't have an SD card option. So what should I do?
Do a factory reset.
Okay. Which is actually not a big deal on a Nexus 7 because, like the phone,
everything's in the cloud.
And the same for your Moto Photon. I don't know why you haven't done that. It's useless it's just used for your teleprompter. So why not just erase it and make it just for your teleprompter?
One thing I noticed that was a pain in the ass when I logged into my Note 2, the refurb I got, it downloaded every app I've ever added in Google Play. It didn't appear to be an option to selectively add those.
It is,
course
but
not.
going through the flow, well, maybe on the Photon because it's old. So, but the new one, there's you can
It's not
uncheck
that
a
old.
backup.
Oh, I'm
But
sorry. I'm sorry.
unfortunately, it
I
wasn't
mean,
programmed
I'm
in
sorry. On the
Gingerbread.
Note 2, when I got the
Okay.
Refurb Note 2, it installed every app I've ever pissed on, looked at, played with, and
Well, there's a
uninstalled. It all
checkbox where
came
you can
down on the new Note 2, like 50
there's a
apps.
checkbox where you can uncheck that, and then you go through a menu. When you're going through the activation flow, there's a checkbox. You can uncheck the backup, and if you do that, then you can go through and get your apps manually, but it still brings your contacts and all that drama over.
Now, okay, so my literally 17,000 plus contacts it brought, which is always a pleasure. Although they have done a good job at making that faster. I think as a result of my trolling them. Okay, so anything else on this? Okay. Welcome, Cadeas. I see you're eating again. He almost gave me a vulgar gesture. All right, so Google Voice is getting. Oh, I wanted to do an app. I wanted to recommend. I really like this app. This is because I go walking almost every day, like 5 or 6 days a week, whenever I can, in the state park that is right next to me. So I walk like 3 or 4 miles, and I like to listen to podcasts because there's no cell connectivity, so I can't listen to anything live. So I use this app. It's called Public Radio and Podcast, and it's really, really good. It's real simple, and I look at stuff like I like the Diane Rehm show. I like All Things Considered.
So what's great about this app?
It's simple and easy for me to be able to create the favorite NPR or other PRI or whatever sources that I like. The Diane Rehm show, All Things Considered, the morning
and
thing.
so what with them?
And then I can download them quickly and easily to the device because I have no connectivity when I'm walking because it's in a state park. And then I can listen to them, and it's just real super simple. And then when if I've listened to something, it removes it from the playlist. It just works intuitively and simply and easily. And
Great. So that's in the Play Store?
yeah, it's in the Play Store.
Any charge?
It's free.
Excellent.
It's ads. It's ad. You know, you pay whatever to buy the in-app purchase. You can get it without ads, but there's just a little ad at the bottom. But I don't care. I just stick it in my pocket once I start it, and so all that happened. And Alan's
Sounds great.
obviously ecstatic about that. Okay, next up is coming up on our other program, which is called Google Plus Week, which is every Friday at 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific every Friday. Google Plus Week. The first story here: Google Voice is getting support for MMS, which is multimedia messaging service. Usually, that's the photos or short videos that people send you in what appears to be a text message. It's actually a different service in your messaging app. And
Now, I noticed that they announced this today, but this has worked since the launch of
No,
the merger. It's worked.
it hasn't completely worked.
hang on,
They
hang on,
announced
guys.
MMS support on one platform, and now what it sounds like today is they're announcing support on more platforms.
What was the one platform? Do we know?
I think it was T-Mobile.
Interesting, because it worked. It worked fine for everybody that I talked to.
All right, let
And
me
every-
let me
Go
do,
ahead.
let me do my intro. I wrote a whole paragraph. This starts today on most North American carriers, including AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, and Bell Canada. Noticeably absent from that list is Verizon. Based on the carefully worded announcement by a Googler on Google Plus, it appears that Verizon opted out. So 3 questions: why would Verizon not want this? And is this evidence that voice isn't going away anytime soon, as we feared? Also, MMS goes to Hangouts on my phone only. Why can't I see a photo in Hangouts on desktop or my tablet? That's frustrating. Someone sent me a funny picture and then followed up with a text. They're on their phone. They took a funny picture. They sent me a text. And I'm using messaging app or the Hangouts app. So I got the message on my desktop. And I couldn't understand what he was saying. I thought it was like he was speaking in code. And then like after 5 exchanges, he's like, well, didn't you see the picture? I was like, oh, I didn't see the picture because there's no mention of the picture in the Hangouts app on desktop. So then I had to pick up my phone. It wasn't on my tablet either. So I had to pick up my phone and go, oh, okay, I see what you're doing there. so it's still it's kludgy.
Well, here's the thing, Dan. With MMS, just carrier to carrier, it's kludgy. When a Verizon customer could send a picture to a T-Mobile customer and the T-Mobile customer doesn't get it, there are times when a Verizon customer would text an AT&T customer, and then that particular AT&T customer doesn't get any picture messages from anybody for months. So like there's because it gets clogged up. Like they have different formats that they work within their carrier, but then when it goes out, there's issues, and that's why Google has to go to each individual carrier and sort out what they're doing to be able to make it work in the Hangouts. Now, as far as it popping up, I'm looking to see who are the customers that I've been talking to, and it looks like these two people are AT&T, and I have one T-Mobile. And I'm scrolling back to when I realized that picture messaging was working, and it's been working fine, and I'm seeing it on my desktop, and I see it on my tablet and everything else. So
In voice or in Hangouts?
voice is dying. Voice is a dead product. It's slowly going to migrate. This is all in Hangouts.
Okay, so
We'll be covering this more on Friday. So.
Okay.
do you have any Sprint guys who are sending you stuff and it works in Hangouts on
You're
desktop?
the Sprint customer, so you need to send me something because I don't have people don't use Sprint that I know. They know better.
It sounds like you and Cadeas got to do a few trials before we cover this further on Friday. What else are we talking about on Friday, Dan?
Okay, next up is Google. The other topic here, Google has begun to include non-traditional outlets in its news box in search results. When you type search for, say, a big news story today would be Ebola or ISIS, and you might be looking for a Wikipedia definition. But it will put a box up with some news results. Well, Google has begun to go to sites like Reddit and other non-traditional news sites, which it traditionally would have shown, and it's definitely based on an algorithm, as some of the results have been humorous, including at least one F-bomb. And this is an article by Danny Sullivan from Search Engine Land, who's been on Google Plus Week in the past, and was a wonderful guest and a very interesting guy. I adore him. This seems like an evolution in the rapid pace of advancement for Google search. From just a pure results page, we've seen them do more and more what I call a curation of content, more like a Flipboard, Huffington Post, or Yahoo News built right into Google.com. And as I've said before, just as an anecdote to this, I find that the news stories that they're showing in my root Google app, and when you click more stories in Google, based on all the stuff they know about me, it's now my the Google Now or Google app is now my aggregator or curator of choice, more so than Flipboard and some others. I like the others, but it's the best news curator I have. It's just a straight up app on my phone that is the Google app.
So we'll be talking about this more on Friday.
Absolutely.
Excellent. And what time is that again, Dan?
That's 8:30 Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific on Google Plus and YouTube Live. And we thank you for watching. We thank you for. Okay, I didn't get the comments in the comment tracker, so I apologize here. I see. A couple comments here. I'm going to. This is coming from the stream here on YouTube. Carl says if the watch included a thermonuclear device, then it would be useful. Put a PayPal link in the book and put it on the torrents. And then Brad says bullshit. It's not outdated. iPhone 6 is not outdated.
Dude, iPhone 6 is outdated, but that's another story completely.
Saw that happen. Okay. And I'll do a quick check to see. Yeah, because I wasn't getting any notifications of comments. So let me do a quick check on Google Plus before we sign up. All right. So any final thoughts, guys?
Nope.
Thank you very much for watching. We appreciate it. And until next week, we'll be back next week, Monday, 9 Eastern. 6 Pacific. Until then, have a wonderful Android week. Cheers.